Ladies and gentlemen, we are back again. I have changed my wardrobe, and we're going to bring to you another installment of Shoot Conversations with Chris Hero. It is my pleasure to bring to you my guest, formerly known as Kid Dynamo.
Kid Dynamo.
For a while, he was an MFer. This is Shannon Moore. Shannon, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
It'd be
yeah.
cool, man. Cool to hang out with you.
Yeah, I'm really excited because, our paths have crossed off and on throughout the years, but outside of a 10-minute conversation here, 15-minute conversation here, we've never sat for a couple hours and talked wrestling.
Nah, this is going to be good. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so excited, man. And are you July 79? Is that when you were born?
27th, July 27th.
July 27th. I'm December 24th.
Oh, nice.
So you got me here. I'm your young boy by 6 months.
Oh, nice.
But I just very inspirational for me because I broke in summer of '98.
Sweet.
And then, you guys are, I'm finding out about Omega tapes, and then you guys end up on WCW, and I'm 20, 21 watching this at the same time. I'm like, man, these guys are like my age. Like, okay, cool. And it's inspiring. I hope you realize how many people you kind of inspired over the years by.
Dude, that's good to hear, man. Like, it's crazy because, I look back and I don't realize, I guess some people, I was so young in the business, and then jumping into WCW at 18, I didn't realize how that would impact people. I guess especially younger people going, man, these guys are really young. I can do this, and I don't have to wait 10 years. I can do it now in the moment. And that's cool whenever I do run across people. And they're like, man,
and it's a little bit different than the Hardys, because the Hardys kind of did the same thing in WWF, but they were a little bit older, and they had been around. They'd been on WWF TV for a little while, so people had kind of seen them for a little while, and then it's like, oh man, these guys came up with the Hardys, and this guy's 18, this dude's 23, just very, very cool. So I have a lot of personal connections to that era, and I'm really excited to go into this, man. Where in Carolina were you born?
Well, I was born in Asheboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we ended up in Cameron whenever I was really young, where me, Matt, and Jeff, where we grew up together, man. So Asheboro was the birthing place of Shannon Moore.
Yeah. And only child? Are you an only child? Or do you have siblings?
No, I've got a brother named Jason.
Yeah.
And I've got a half brother and sister.
Yeah.
Me and my brother Jason, that's the only family that I guess have today that I'm really tight with.
Yeah. Is he older or younger?
He's older.
He's older.
Yeah.
All right.
He's, I think 5 years older than me.
Yeah. So you were forever the little brother.
Yeah, man.
From real life into pro wrestling?
Yeah, and then, I was pro wrestling, it wasn't even a brother situation. It was more, we can get into it later, but my father, he was, I guess, paraplegic.
Yeah.
So, I never really had a father figure. Mm-hmm. So, I started training, me, Matt, and Jeff, was doing the trampoline thing whenever I was 8, 9 years old. And then, once, I was 11, 12, whenever we got to the hard ring stuff and started training.
Yeah.
But the boys, man, they were my father figures. It wasn't brothers. It was they raised me all the guys did on the road.
Business raised you, man.
Yeah.
Man, do you remember the first time you caught wrestling and saw it? And
Yeah. Well, I remember my mom, probably whenever I was 3 or 4.
Yeah.
My mom would go to flea markets.
Yeah.
And back then, Bart Simpson shirts and all that stuff, you could get those at flea markets. But she came home and she had big Hulk Hogan beer mug and a JYD beer mug.
Oh, wow.
And whenever I got those mugs, there was just something special about those mugs. Yep. And that's around the time whenever I really started watching wrestling, because I had these wrestling mugs. Yeah. I think they were WWF mugs, just some old school mugs that they put out. And JYD, I remember, he would dance and stuff, man. And, as a kid, I would just sit there and, I'd start dancing. And, just that electricity, with him and Hogan made me want to.
Yeah, he'd bring the kids into the ring.
Yeah, it was awesome,
grab
dude.
them cakes.
It was a good time.
Yeah, JYD. Awesome, man. Do you remember the first time you got to go see pro wrestling live in person?
Yeah, well, to see it live, honestly, man, that was probably after I'd already started, doing the trampoline thing.
Okay.
Because, we were pretty poor.
Yeah,
Like, honestly, like
Yep.
my family, like we wasn't wealthy by all means.
Yeah.
So like, we didn't do stuff like that. And my childhood was kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
My household was. So like, we really didn't do outings like that. As far as wrestling goes, because my parents wasn't wrestling fans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to drive yourself to a show.
Yeah, yeah. So I think after I started training, like that's probably whenever, like going to an indie show.
Yeah.
Was probably my first experience, and then from there, like going to watch WCW, trying to pass tapes out and get them to Terry Taylor, like stuff like that.
Yeah. So you moved to Cameron, where I think you said you were 4th, 5th grade, something like that, and then that's how you ended up meeting the Hardys.
Yeah.
Right?
We moved to Cameron, and me and Jeff, like they lived a mile from me.
Yeah.
So we would all get together, and there wasn't but like 200 people in our town.
Yeah.
So like we, Matt and Jeff, like they were athletes, like I was an athlete, and like all the other athletes would all get together and like would play basketball and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we'd watch the pay-per-views together, and build tree houses and just do crazy stuff.
Little Rascals.
Yeah,
type
the little
stuff.
rascal stuff just cause havoc.
What sports did you enjoy the most?
Let me see. I played football, played baseball, basketball, and then tennis. Believe it or not. Like, yeah, I was actually #1 seed in tennis. Like I was a really good tennis player.
Yeah.
And actually, the girl that I beat for the #1 spot in tennis, she's actually a pro today. So like, it's weird. Like looking at that. Going, man, what if I'd have kept playing tennis? Like, would I be a pro tennis player today instead of a pro wrestler?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I played pretty much all the sports.
That's good, man. That's good. You played. Did you really like basketball? You got into it quite a bit, or?
Yeah, I liked it. I was short. Like I've always been a short guy, so like. I was a
Muggsy
forward.
Bogues, man.
Yeah, and that was like Spud Webb. Like Spud
Yep.
Webb was like my, he's like my dude. I'm like, man, if Spud could do it, man, I can do this.
Yeah.
But like I could barely touch the net, so like I wasn't dunking like
Yep.
Spud Webb. So I was like, I definitely had no ups.
Yeah.
But I could shoot pretty good.
Yeah.
Like it
yeah.
was.
I remember one of my first pairs of shoes that I remember like wanting and getting was when Larry Johnson, LJ, Grandmama, he had those Converse shoes that had this React juice in the back of them or something, and like I thought they were gonna be these crazy. I got them and like the back busted and the juice came in. I'm like, what is going on?
Is this?
But I do remember. I mean, you're a Carolina guy. I do remember everybody having the Charlotte Hornets like starter jackets and stuff.
Puffy jackets.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, Charlotte.
Yeah.
They were a new franchise in the NBA, but they brought a lot of interest here.
Yeah, those are real dope.
Yeah, I'm a North Carolinian now, so
nice.
So man, tell me about how did they just have a trampoline set up? Like how did this trampoline wrestling go?
Yeah, so Matt's dad, like Matt and Jeff's dad, Gilbert, like he'd bought him a trampoline.
Yeah.
And like Jeff had a skateboard ramp, and that was used as the entrance, and then like black tarps, were draped around, so it was like a little coliseum.
Yep.
And then like their dad played in a band, so his speaker systems and stuff, that'd be used for the entrance music, and then like just trees, cut down trees for the posts and garden hoses.
Yeah.
And then it was really awkward, man, because everybody's like, man, you start on a trampoline, like, a trampoline's soft, but bumping in a trampoline, like, is really awkward. Like, if you're trying to do, like, a suplex off the top, it's like, you catch it, the one guy, like, goes down and the trampoline's coming back up. So it's like, I'd rather take a bump in a real ring than on a trampoline.
Yeah, you get a little stability.
You get, like, whiplash and stuff real bad.
God. Or your foot goes through those springs or something.
Through the springs,
oh, gosh, that's so good.
And I know, like, probably the first match that I had, I think my gimmick was tiny.
Tiny.
Yeah, like, I literally was probably 75 pounds of that. And, Matt was jacked because he had already hit puberty and went through puberty, so, like, he was lean and
got his dumbbells,
jacked for, so, like, because I think Matt was probably 17 at the time, 16, 17.
Yeah.
And, he was bigger. And I remember the first match that we did, like, me and Jeff was really tight. Like, just, we'd play in the woods, build tree houses, and, like, we were really tight because Matt was a little older and he was into girls and stuff at that point. And Matt wanted to superplex me off the top rope. Yeah. And he was on the second rope and he went to, like, suplex me, and he slipped and, like, dropped me on the corner post, like, on my ribs. And, like, I was a little bitty kid. And then he went for it again. And like 3 times, like he just messed the spot up, and like jacked me on the pole. And he suplexed me off, and like I just started crying like a kid would.
Yeah, of course.
And like ended up just walking out of the match. And, like went to the back. And I was on the bed. I was crying. And Jeff was back there, and he's like, "Man, are you all right?" And then like him and Matt started arguing. He's like, "Matt, why would you do that? Like, why are you trying to beat up my friend?" Like. And,
not beat up, like actually injure. You get,
oh,
man.
Yeah. So that was my first introduction to like a match over there. Whenever we started filming matches.
God, he was going into business for himself.
Yeah, totally, man. Just trying to take
man.
Me out.
I'm just hearing this. I've seen the videos and stuff that the video packages and stuff. Just this creativity is off the charts, man.
Yeah.
It is very special that you guys were able to find each other and then have a supportive dad in there to kind of. It's just
Yeah,
how
Gilbert.
cool.
Man, Gilbert was awesome.
Yeah.
Especially once like my dad once he was in his car wreck.
Yeah.
Gilbert kind of took that, I guess, that father role too.
Yeah.
Because he knew my mom and he knew the situation with my dad, so he was super supportive too. Like that's why everybody's like I was the third brother.
Yeah.
Because I was always there. I was at Gilbert's house and was watching wrestling, and like he kind of he kind of took me as his son. I think like a lot of times.
Gosh, man. Now eventually you moved to a real ring. Yeah. Tell me about this transition to getting a real ring. Was it built, or was it purchased?
Well, first it was like I'm pretty sure it come from a junkyard.
Yeah.
Like a scrap yard.
Yep.
And the transition was like from trampoline to like wood around the trampoline and just the middle.
Yeah.
So now it's even worse. Like because now you got like once it bounces, like the wood goes down, it separates, and then like there's air between.
Yeah.
So like that was that lasted a little while, and then we went to just the full blown ring. Like we got the whole ring process right.
And you're probably around 10, 11, something like that.
Yeah, probably 11ish.
Yeah, too young to be bumping.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like just what kind of parent would allow their son like start taking bumps and everything. But yeah, and it was rough, man. Like those first bumps were. God, being that young, like just trying to learn how to bump and stuff, and weighing 80 pounds, like it was brutal.
Yeah. I mean, the body obviously hasn't developed enough, but like your neck muscles, you know, we got to protect this soft thing that's in here.
Well, and that's what like I think about that because like you hear about like the PC, like they put helmets on people, and or I don't know if they do now, but they were for a while. And it's like I just think about it. I was like, man, like I was 11 years old, like bouncing my head off of like the wood.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm okay. Like I think like I don't know, like I don't know how other people feel, but I feel like my memory's pretty good and like my brain still works pretty decent, man, going through like trying to learn how to wrestle.
Yeah. I remember in developmental, there was this a couple football players came in, and then they're just trying to teach them the basics, and one guy is giving the other guy a headlock takeover, puts him right on his head, and then that was it. He was done. Yeah, got a concussion, got done, boom, quit.
Out of here.
Whew, that's a hell of a finish, the headlock takeover.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, dude, it's crazy, but like, I think that's what is different about passion and love for the business and just somebody getting an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sure you've had plenty of concussions and you've been hurt to the point of where it's just like, it's just another day for us. It's like, I love this shit. Like, it's, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah. So tell me about how did you transition now you're in a full-on ring. How do you end up getting booked on your first show? I mean, they're all kind of traveling around doing stuff. They were probably even going up and doing WWF stuff at this time.
Yeah, about that time, they were doing spot work for WWE, like Italian Stallion was taking them up.
Yep.
And I went to a couple shows because I'm like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I was like 12 years old, like 13 years old maybe. I don't know, maybe 12 or 13-ish, somewhere in there. But like I was too small, man. Like looking back, like it was, and Tony Gurria and like Tom Pritchard, like like they would tell me like, and even into 14 and 15, whenever I was really trying to like send tapes and talk to people, and do the same thing. Like Tom Pritchard's like, dude, you're just too small for here.
Yeah.
Like this is a big man world right now. It's like Matt and Jeff are the small guys, and they're over 6 feet tall, and like they were 215, 220 pounds.
Yeah.
So he's like, dude, you don't even, you're 110,
Yeah.
120 pounds. Like, no, you can't
Yeah.
do that. But, Tom was cool. He's like, man, you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. You'll be fine, but it's just, you have to put some weight on.
You got to be patient.
Yeah.
You got to carve out that niche.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first match on a show?
Yeah, it was against Jeff.
It was
I
against
think my first match, because I just did training for a couple years before I actually had my big match.
Yeah.
And it was against Jeff.
Yeah.
And it was the worst match, like probably in the history of matches.
Yeah. Is it on film somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Matt's got all his tape libraries, man, at his house. So one day, hopefully, everybody will get to see some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But God, it was so bad, man. Like I felt I went out there and like we had all these spots put together and stuff, and like all this cool stuff. And it was my first match, and there probably wasn't but 10 people in the crowd.
Yeah.
But the pressure from those 10 people just made me forget everything.
Yeah, it's not your friends, it's strangers.
Yeah, I was out there and then just forgot everything, and
Yep.
like we just made it through it.
Was this Wolverine versus the Enigma? Is that what this match was?
Yes, it was.
Awesome, man.
The Enigma.
Yeah.
Many people played the Enigma over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the recycled. You got a mask on? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was a mask,
Yeah.
and like it was just horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was. Actually, I would love to go back and watch that sometime.
Yeah.
Like just to see how bad it was, and watch it with a group of people, and just rip it apart.
Yeah.
But rip it apart like a technical match. Like we're expecting to see this WrestleMania match because it's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I remember. Was it Surge? Was that the name he used? And he would go ta-ta-ta-ta, and he'd do this.
High voltage first.
High voltage, yeah. Yeah.
What was that? Like every tick of the clock grows near your shock. Countdown to your Armageddon. Then he would hit the.
Yeah, it's supposed to look like a lightning bolt or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember getting some Omega tapes when I first broke in, and it was just the coolest stuff. Because I was like, oh man. These guys just do whatever they want.
Yeah. It was cool. Like, we were fortunate because, like Jeff's dad, they had a VHS camera. Mm-hmm. And it's like, we had the whole setup. And, like, for that time, it was like, God was able to do our own production. Like, we'd splice tapes together and, like, we'd sit there for hours, man, trying to, edit stuff.
Yeah, but you got your two VCRs, If you're fancy, you get a dual deck,
Oh, the dual deck. Yeah. Remember whenever those come out, man? Like, it was just the most amazing. It was the iPhone of that.
Yeah.
That era,
Dude, I was clinging on to the dual deck when DVDs were coming out, and I was like, no, because I would do this thing called spot tape, right?
Yeah.
I'd get the newest tapes from Smart Mark Video, and then I could watch them on 2x speed. And I watch them on 2x speed, and anytime I saw something that was good, bad, or ugly, I would put it on the spot tape.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So then, you'd condense a 4-hour indie show to like 13 minutes. And, we'd get everybody after the shows and we'd just pop one on. And it's just, it's like, oh, what the hell was that? Ooh, that was kind of slick. Let me rewind that.
Yeah.
So that was, so I was doing that up until, 2004, 2005. I was still doing that with those tapes.
That's cool.
I still have them somewhere. I'll eventually unearth them and get them digitized. But,
yeah, that's awesome.
Tell me about the birth of Omega.
Omega? Yeah, so, Omega come about, like, I guess, Matt, like, we'd met this guy, Thomas Simpson.
Yep.
I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about Thomas, but I think he was with another promotion at the time. I think it was ACW, American Championship Wrestling. Yeah. And he was kind of invested in it, like, giving some money. And once he seen us, he was like, man, like, you got a group of talented guys. Like, what if I invested in, gave you guys a little money to help get this thing going? Yeah. And, like Matt, like we were thinking of a name, and I think Matt come up with Omega. And, like we were wanting something just catchy and like something different, like not really wrestling. So like that's why we come up, Organization of Modern Extreme Grappling Arts.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's like, looking back, it's like, at that time, like UFC and stuff like that really wasn't, like pumping yet. And then, like here we are, like Organization of Modern Extreme Grappling Arts.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, that was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was.